Hey, welcome back. My name is Jay Oza. I teach, mentor, and coach people on public speaking so that they can do winning high stakes speeches, whether it's for a job interview, a business meeting, or even at a conference. Today I'm going to continue this series on pitching. And this is a little bit of an advanced tip. We talked about how to pitch, and then there's a short pitch, and then there is a long pitch. So this is I'm kind of going through the process. When you send an email and pitching an idea, in my case, I pitch right now mostly try to get people to come on my show that I'm doing. And believe me, it's not easy. I don't want to lead you astray thinking like, wow, pitching is like just people are just waiting to come on your show. People have all kinds of resistance built, and you got to penetrate through the resistance. And sometimes, no matter how great your pitch is, you simply are not going to be able to penetrate that. And the other question you have to ask, is it even worth your time? So keep that in mind. There's that resistance that people have. Your pitch, you want to make it as resistance proof as possible, but sometimes it's just not going to be able to penetrate. The question is, how much do you try? And here again, I always use my 60-30-10 principle. The pitch is so compelling, you're 60% closer if they reply. If you, after the pre-call, you're almost at 90%. But don't think that that alone is going to get it done. I've had situations where I had pre-call, thinking and sent more information, and I never heard from people. So all of these things should work, but they don't always work. So I just want to let you know that there is nobody out there has 100% proof system on pitching. You just have to stick to your process or approach that you're using. But there's one other thing, that pitching is also like a negotiation too. The one thing you have to remember is that the answer is always no. So no is always the default, right? That somebody's not going to accept your pitch. So no is the default. That when you send a pitch, no is the answer that you're always ready to accept. This is not like, I'm going to keep trying, keep trying. I don't believe in the numbers game where if you try it like 10 times, 100 times, you'll eventually break through the resistance. I think that's kind of a stupid way of doing it, because you have other things to do. And why waste time with somebody who doesn't want to come on, is not amenable to your pitch, with people that maybe. At the end, it has to be right for you too. Just because you're pitching doesn't mean that you get jerked around. Pitching is a professional courtesy that you're showing. There has to be a professional courtesy that the person has to show to you. And you have to act professional too. You don't want to be jerked around. So the thing to do here is that when you pitch, the one thing is you have to set time limit for everything. So when you send a first short pitch, mention in there that you expect a response back within 48 hours. That's a reasonable response time. Please respond within 48 hours. If not, I'll accept that you're not interested. That's it. That means you don't have to reply again. So the default is they get 48 hours. They don't reply, it's down. If you do talk to the person face to face, give them no more than 48 hours, because the time limit is something you do not ever want somebody to control. You always control the time, right? You always control the time. This is a negotiating technique. You never want to let other person control the time. So in any situation, if they don't respond within certain time, the default is no. Now this might, for many of you, may seem obvious, but believe me, this is very hard to execute. You have to know this before you start pitching. How much time are you giving? Now, if you do more and more, you're going to become good at it. You're not going to get jerked around by anybody and say, look, I get 48 hours, please respond. Otherwise, my calendar fills up. I don't have any time. Boom. No. Default is no. Like I always said, the default is always no. And you have to learn to live with the no. What happens is that people start investing more and more time and they just can't pull out. So remember, default is always no. And with any situation, as the pitching gets further and further, you have to set the time limit. Without the time limit, that pitch becomes very expensive for you. In any situation, there has to be a reasonable amount of time where the person has to respond, because if that person is not putting you as a priority, that means that person is now controlling your time. And no matter whoever it is, you should never let anybody control your time. Only you should be controlling your time. So this is a little bit of a little technicality within the pitch. Pitch is good, it's compelling, the person should respond. If they're so hardened that they're not going to respond, it speaks that there's no professional courtesies being extended. But then even after that, you should still maintain that the default is no, but always make sure you give them 48 hours to respond. If not, then you're done. Because otherwise, they'll just never respond. And you got to act like you're a professional. That, listen, I have things to do. This is a shot. If it doesn't work for you, it's fine. But here's how much time I can devote to it. I can't make this forever whenever you come around it. It also means that they're not professional, or that they're so busy that you're not in the priority, and you don't want to waste your time. Okay? You don't want to think for them. You got to stick with your plan. That you have certain time limit. If they don't respond, you're moving on, no matter what. Okay, think about this. But as you start pitching, this is something that nobody ever teaches you when it comes to pitching. They just think like, oh, you send a pitch and everything just works out. It doesn't work out. There is still a lot of different steps that take place after you send your first pitch. It's a process, and you got to get control of the process. If the process is controlled by somebody else, then your pitch is it's weakening your pitch. I hope this is clear. There's a lot of information that I kind of included here, but the main thing is control the time. Don't let other people control your time. That's the main idea of this video. May have used more words than necessary here, but that's the main idea. That in a pitch, you have to follow a set process. And one of the set things in that process is the time. And do not lose control of your process, and do not lose control of the time. And if you do that, I think your pitches are going to be successful. But even when they're not successful, it's not going to cost you too much. You have to act like a professional. Every pitch isn't going to work, but the process has to work. Okay? Let me repeat that again. Every pitch isn't going to work, but the process has to work for every pitch. And if you do that, you'll be more successful than not. Okay? So if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. And as usual, thank you for watching, and good luck with your pitch.